Hello everyone, and today in this specific video we are going to explore about something more on the MCPs. But this time we are going to connect MCP with Docker. As a DevOps engineer, we have dealt with Docker, the Docker containers, the images, and so many concepts around the Docker. But today we are going to see how this agentic AI ecosystem has made changes into Docker and how Docker has adopted to these changes. We'll also look across how can we use these ecosystem in much more efficient way. So moving forward, this entire discussion will be divided into two parts. First, we see about the functionality which Docker brings in, what are the MCP servers which the Docker brings in, and how do we configure it with any of our client. That's one part. The second phase would be about how do we handle the containers running inside the Docker. Can we really make it an agentic? So these are the two discussions that we are going to have in this entire workflow of the discussion. Anyway, so let's just start. So first discussion is that, what this Docker basically brings in. So if you look into Docker and if you have updated your Docker desktop, you'll find out is something called as the MCP toolkit. Now this is still in a beta phase, which Docker is still trying to, look forward to. But yeah, this will kind of, give you a brief idea about how Docker is also changing its own ecosystem in terms of the agentic AI, generative AI, and, the entire ecosystem which is around it. So when you go to the MCP toolkit, you find out there's something called as the catalog, which consists of a lot of, tools which have created as MCP. So for example, you see the Grafana. What Grafana has done, Grafana has created its own MCPs, and they mentioned that, hey, if you want to use this, you can just install the Grafana as a container on your local computer and use any of your client to basically use it. Similarly, you'll find out for the Dynatrace, the Slack, you have a Brave Search, you have, Desktop Commander, you have, file system. So many of them are already being into the place as well, which you can actually go across and look forward to. Even you have AWS, you have Kubernetes, you have for Redis, so many of them are there. So today what we are going to do is basically look forward how do we configure these MCP servers to any of them. So for this specific purpose, we are basically going to look for, let's say, a YouTube transcript. Now, this is very simple. You just go across, you click on the add YouTube transcript. So the moment you click on it, this specific server will start getting executed on your local computer. This MCP server is now running on your local computer. Now, if you look into the entire MCP server, it says, hey, this specifically provide you with 4 different tools which is available, right? Like get available language, get time transcript, get video info. So all these 4 are there, right? And it's also specified how do you use these MCP servers in general. So the idea is very simple. You take this MCP servers, part, and now we need to basically use a specific client to access them. Now, in the previous video, we already talked about using Kendra as our client, which because it has the entire agentic ecosystem, which is basically there. The other clients which you can use, but probably not that efficient in terms of a general usage. But still, the other clients are the Cursor, which you can also go across and use it. Anyway, the idea is that we can actually use this specific configuration to our client as well. I already have the updated version of the Kendra. So I'll just go to the settings, go to the MCPs, right? And here, all I have to do is paste this part, which means I'm just pasting out, the MCP ecosystem. And it will basically connect with your MCP server, which is running on your local computer, which is obviously being provided and powered by the Docker as well. So MCP server is running as a container inside your Docker. So in order to use this MCP server, you just have to make sure that your Docker is actually running. Otherwise, you will not be able to connect with this MCP server. So we made this connection, and if you see, if it worked fine, this Kendra is able to detect your MCP server. So you see, now we have the MCP server, which is running on our local computer, and we have the YouTube transcript Now, the similar way, you can go to this agentic mode, you can specify a YouTube video, and you can ask him to basically do a transcript of that video, and that will basically work. Similarly, you can do it for any of the another ecosystem. Now you have a full-on, options that you can do, which means you can just go to your catalog, you can see anyone, and you can have it. Being a DevOps and cloud engineer, we have so many of things we might be required. Maybe a Smart Queue, maybe a Grafana. As we move forward, we'll be exploring some of them in this module of the MCP ecosystem as well. So that's all for this specific video. We'll see more on the Docker in the next video.